Bible Study. I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and today we're going to start a new series entitled Spiritual Inventory. Today's lesson, what is spiritual inventory? Let's dive right into our lesson today. We're going to come from the scripture in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. And the scripture reads as follows: Examine yourself whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates. And I want to stop right there. There's a lot to uncover in this scripture, and we're going to try to do it. So when the scripture speaks of examining, it's a very interesting term because in most cases when we talk about an inventory, you are checking to see just what you have collected, what you have left to use, and therefore in many cases inventories are used to take stock so you can understand how low you are on specific items, and then so you can restock. And so inventory is about ensuring that everything you need is right on the shelves, everything you need to function in purpose, objective, to whatever it is, the business, to the home. Even homes take inventory. That's why they go shopping, sometimes once a week, once a month, and in certain places every day. And so inventory is a method that enables the inventory and the individual specialist to account for items that are missing, to see whether or not items have been used appropriately. It can also be used to stop items or stop individuals from theft. And so when we look at the term examine, this term is where we're going to get our foundation for this study. The term examine is the word periazo, and it means to make full proof or trial of, to put to the proof, rather good or mischievous. And so, in some indication, it means to tempt, but not as we suppose, that's in a negative sense. Now, when we look at it again, periazo means to test objectively. That is, to endeavor, scrutinize, to discipline, assay, or examine. And so it means to go about proving. As we look at it and unpack it a little further, this term periazo means to try whether a thing can be done. And so you're looking at the scenario and you're examining to see if the stuff or the empowerment, the capabilities are within you that will allow you to achieve specific goals. And so it can mean to attempt, to endeavor, to try, make trial of, or test for the purpose of ascertaining the quantity or what he thinks or how he will behave himself. Again, you're taking an inventory of those things within the spirit, within the mind, within the being, to ascertain as to whether or not there is ample amount of faith, ample amount of courage, goodness, love, truth, so forth and so on. And so it can literally deal with then to prove that something can endure when being used. It can deal with trying or testing one's faith, virtue, character, by enticing, in other words, putting something to the test. If we go a little further, then the word periazo means to experience, to try, to take to trial, to prove in either good or a bad sense, to test by soliciting to sin, and then as we go further, of actions to attempt to assay, of persons who try to prove and put to the test. And so basically when we talk about examining yourself, he says you have to first of all put you to the test. You have to come to the point of reckoning. Do you have what it takes to fulfill a specific agenda? Do you have what it takes to operate within the context of a certain modality? Do you have enough, again, faith? Do you have enough love for Christ? Do you have enough heart-spurred commitment to continue on? And so to examine yourself is to look at yourself, again, to try to see what is the quantity of those spiritual assessments or those spiritual elements that you have. One way to examine yourself is to look at the fruit of the Spirit. Do you literally have enough of the fruit of the Spirit that proves to you that the Spirit is operating through your life? Are you producing those elements then and those qualities that can change and shift your character? In taking a spiritual inventory, you can ascertain, are you operating more in the flesh, more in the spirit, and if so, in what arena, to what degree? And so examining and looking very closely at how you operate, to what degree you operate. Are your operations in spiritual things consistent? What's going on in your mind when you operate? Are you really thinking of something else and just putting on a show for someone else? And so, taking a spiritual inventory, it first begins with a truthful desire to see what you really have stored within you. It comes with a truthful desire to really focus on what your real aptitude is in living in the Spirit. Do you find that the works of the flesh consistently rise? Do you find that that habit you had still rises? Do you have that anger is still out of control? And so taking a spiritual inventory begins with a desire to be truthful and to truthfully search to see what's lurking in you, what's operating in you. To what degree is it operating? How long has it been operating? And once you take this examination, this spiritual examination or this spiritual inventory, you can begin to move on to determine what it is you need to do. The scripture tells us to save ourselves from this untoward generation. That doesn't mean we don't witness. It doesn't mean that we don't share the gospel. It doesn't mean that we don't comfort or edify one another. But what it literally means is that you have a responsibility to God to do the right thing. You have a responsibility to God to ensure that all that He's given to you by way of salvation, that you are handling it and taking care of it the right way. Always remember, God saved you. You are tied to God. You are a living sacrifice because He purchased you through Christ with His own blood. And now you are not your own. This is all the time we have for today. Again, I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and you have just been listening to our daily Bible study. Until next time, God bless and keep you.